We're going to go ahead and get started with circles. So the first thing that we need to get clear on is the circumference of a circle. So there's a couple of things that we need to take notes on first. Okay, the second slide is basically our definitions within this model. You have to take note, make sure you understand what a circle, center, diameter, radius, and circumference all are. And make sure you pause this video and write them down in your notes. Push play when you're ready to move on. Now that you have your definitions and recall what some parts of a circle are, we're just going to dive right into using the formulas. The circumference of the circle, if you remember, is the distance around the circle. So you're going to be sometimes given the diameter to find the circumference, or you're going to be given the circumference to find the diameter. So you're going to have to be able to go both ways. Let's go ahead and jump right into 1A. Now, for high quality work, I suggest that you write down the formula every single time to help you memorize the formula, and then you're going to substitute the information that they give to you. For 1A, you're going to substitute the 3.75 in place of D. And then you're just going to type in the calculator pi, which is the button above the 7, times 3.75, and then press enter. So we started out by rounding to the nearest tenth. So for this one, you get 11.78. Let's go ahead and round to the nearest tenth value, which is going to be 11.8 feet. So that's the distance around the circle that has a diameter of 3.75. 1B, again, let's write down the formula. C equals pi d. Okay, now let's substitute. So the circle that has a diameter of 5.1 millimeters will have a circumference of 6.0221223. However, rounding to the tenths place, it's just going to be 16.0, which is 16 feet. Or, I'm sorry, millimeters. For example 2, they don't give you the diameter, they give you the radius, okay? So the radius is half the diameter. Now, you can actually write out the formula, 2 pi r like they do in your book, or you can just recognize that, hey, I have the radius, I need to double the radius in order to get my, my diameter. So you can just make a mental note to yourself and write it down that diameter is going to be 5.3 times 2, and that is going to be 10.6. So when we calculate for the circumference, all we're going to do is then take the diameter of 10.6 and multiply it to pi, which is, basically the button on our calculator. Let's get some practice with number 2. Find the circumference of the circle with a radius of 7 millimeters, round to the nearest tenths. So what we're going to do is we're going to double the 7 to find the diameter. So diameter equals 2 times 7, which is 14. So now to find the circumference, we're just going to take pi 14. So circumference is 43.98229715, but again, rounding it to the nearest tenth, that's going to give you 44. And that's millimeters. Okay, example 3. So now we started with the word problems. They give you a diagram, okay? Notice that they give you the circumference here. So we're still going to use our formula. Circumference equals pi d, and we're going to substitute. This time they give us c. So if you knew to divide, that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, so instead of multiplying here, we're going to actually divide. We're going to divide by the number that they that we already know. We don't know d, but we kind of know pi because it's, a button on our calculator. So just take 40 and divide it by your pi, button, and you're going to get a number that's 12.73 and so on. So let's round to the nearest tenths here, and we're going to get our diameter as 12.7 meters. So that would be the length of the rope across the pool. For 3A and 3B, let's try and draw a picture so we make sure that we don't make any errors, as well as writing down the formula. A Ferris wheel has a circumference of 226 meters. So here's our Ferris wheel. Remember, this is our circumference all the way around, okay? So circumference is 226 meters. What is the radius? So we want to figure out the radius, not the diameter. So once we do find the diameter, we're just going to have to cut our answer in half to find the radius. All right, formula time. C equals pi d. I know C. I know pi. So just divide by pi. So diameter is roughly 71.9. Okay, so while that answer is still in your calculator, go ahead and divide that by 2 to find the radius. So radius will equal half of the diameter, which is going to give you roughly 36 if we round it correctly. And that's 36 meters. The next problem, we're given two numbers for diameters, and what we're going to do is we're going to compare the circumferences once we find them, okay? So we have one CD that's got a diameter of 120 millimeters, and then a UMD, which is 60 millimeters. Okay, so let's use our formula and substitute. This one over here. Okay, use your calculator and figure out what C is. Let's go ahead and round to the nearest tenth. With the 120 millimeter CD, you should have gotten about 377 millimeters as the circumference. With the 60 millimeter, you should have gotten about 188.5 as the circumference. So compare the circumferences of the discs. Obviously, the 120 millimeter disc is has a bigger circumference than the UMD. Okay, so what we would write is the CD has a larger circumference than the UMD. And that's it. So I'm going to let you guys do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on your own. Please make sure to watch out for those that give you the radius. Okay, so like the 2 and the 3, you have to make sure you double it to get the diameter before you multiply it to pi. Number 5 also just gives you the radius. Before you multiply it to the pi, find diameter. And actually number 6, they give you the circumference, okay? So and then they want you to find the radius. So you're going to be dividing twice, once to find the diameter and then the other time to find the radius. Okay, pause your screen and then push play when you're ready to get the answers. Number 1, 2, and 3 are up there near the circles. Number 4 and 5 are down below in purple. And then finally number 6 is right beneath the problem. If you have any questions, please come and see me. I'll be happy to help you. Once you're done with all your note-taking, make sure you do your independent practice in your books on page 560. You're only doing 7 through 18. When you're finished, make sure you check your answers.